Echoes of Juneteenth, written by the pen poetess. Lara's fingers trembled over the tarnished brass key, its odd triangular head stark against her palm. This key, handed down from her great-great-great-grandmother, a slave freed on Juneteenth, was her pass to the family's legacy, a house abandoned for decades, unapproachable and uncared for, standing somber and silent in the heart of rural Texas. As Lara stepped over the threshold, the scent of forgotten years filled her nostrils. Mildew, damp wood, and something more elusive. A coppery hint of dread clung to the edges, a latent terror that echoed through generations. Her family always shunned the house, but she wasn't about to let old wives' tales stop her. Dust particles swirled lazily in the sunbeams, piercing the mottled curtains, their dance choreographed by the wind whistling through the cracked windows. Every creak of the ancient wooden floor echoed in the emptiness, a symphony of forgotten voices. Lara felt a shiver of anticipation and anxiety prickle her skin. Her first night there was an unsettling symphony of strange sounds, the eerie whisper of wind through the trees, the distant hooting of an owl, the house settling with sighs and moans. It seemed harmless, perhaps even charming. A slight chill, but nothing truly unusual for an old, abandoned place. But as Juneteenth dawned, everything changed. On the morning of the commemorative day, she awoke to the sound of distant singing, soft and melancholic, a lullaby that seemed to seep from the very walls. The haunting refrain resonated within her, stirring emotions she didn't quite understand. Despite its ethereal beauty, a chill trickled down Lara's spine. The house was completely isolated. Who could possibly be singing? Hours later, as Lara descended the grand staircase, the cobweb-dusted chandelier flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced across the peeling wallpaper. She hesitated, looking up at the trembling light. When she looked down again, she saw it. A set of wet footprints on the dusty floor leading from the entrance towards the cellar. A knot of fear twisted in her stomach, but she steeled herself, curiosity wrestling with her trepidation. The cellar was dank and uninviting, lined with decaying wooden shelves and barrels, ancient jars of preserves gone horribly rotten. As her eyes adjusted to the gloom, she noticed a tiny wooden door at the back. She hesitated, remembering the stories her grandmother used to tell. Tales of chains and shackles, of whispered prayers and secret rituals performed in the dead of night to keep evil at bay. She approached the door, a splintering relic, her breath catching in her throat. The key, her ancestor's key, fit perfectly into the ancient lock. She turned it, and with a loud creak, the door gave way. Inside, it was almost entirely dark. But as Lara's eyes adjusted, she saw the shackles, just as the stories had told, rusted and hung on the wall. A small, soot-blackened space was carved out, with remnants of charred wood and half-melted candles. A shrine, perhaps, or a place of prayer. On a whim, Lara reached into her pocket and pulled out her lighter. She lit one of the candles, and an unexpected scene came into view. The walls, blackened by time and smoke, were etched with symbols she didn't recognize. Sinister, twisted shapes that seemed to undulate in the flickering candlelight. Then she saw the figure. It was small, huddled in the corner of the room, clad in ragged garments, face shrouded in darkness. The figure was deathly still, almost blending into the shadows. Lara's heart hammered in her chest as she took an uncertain step closer, her breath catching in her throat. The candlelight seemed to shy away from the figure, leaving its face a void of inky blackness, yet she felt it. The unseen eyes boring into her soul, a silent accusation hanging heavy in the air. The figure slowly raised a hand, and the spectral chill of dread washed over Lara. It pointed towards the wall, where the symbols seemed to squirm more insistently in the candlelight. Lara, curiosity overcoming fear, moved closer. Now she saw the symbols were not just crude etchings, but an intricately drawn map, a depiction of the plantation house, the nearby river, and a series of paths leading into the dense forest beyond. Her eyes were drawn to one trail, marked by the same triangular symbol as her key. The figure faded into nothingness, leaving only a charged silence. Lara emerged from the cellar, her mind whirling. She was alone, but the house felt alive, echoing with unseen presences. Ignoring her mounting apprehension, Lara followed the path marked on the map. The forest swallowed her whole, towering trees groaning under the weight of age and secrets. The path wound deeper into the heart of the forest, into increasing darkness, the shadows whispering of long-lost tales. She found it at the trail's end, a clearing bathed in ethereal moonlight with a solitary tree in the centre, its branches sprawling like skeletal arms. Hanging from a gnarled branch was a rusted iron triangle, identical to the one on her key. Lara approached, her skin goosebumping under the chilling wind that suddenly swept through the clearing. The air thickened and the whispers crescendoed into a wailing chorus. Figures materialized from the shadows, an echo of a long-lost gathering, their spectral eyes filled with sorrow and accusation. They converged on Lara, their fingers reaching, their mouths opening in silent screams. Her ancestral house was not just a building, it was a crypt, a monument to atrocities. Lara fell to her knees, overcome with images, chains, whips, despair-filled eyes. The shadows danced around her, their agony seeping into her very marrow, their need for acknowledgement, for justice, reverberating through her. As dawn broke on the day after Juneteenth, Lara left the clearing, haunted but determined. She wouldn't let their stories die. Her ancestors' home, their pain and suffering, their endurance, it needed to be remembered. As she returned to the house, it no longer felt malevolent, but filled with the echoes of those who lived and died within its walls. The singing, the figure, the spectral gathering, it all coalesced into a macabre tale of truth. This wasn't a horror story, it was a remembrance. Lara wouldn't flee from the house like her forebears, she would reclaim it. She would honor their memory, their strength. After all, wasn't that what Juneteenth was about? Freedom, yes, but also a remembrance of the struggle, the pain. Acknowledgement was the first step toward justice. The ghosts of her family's past would no longer be forgotten. She would make sure of it. Their legacy was her legacy, and she would carry it forward no matter how heavy the burden.